Have you heard of the adopt, don't shop movement? So, growing up, I only adopted pets. And out of all the pets we adopted, something went wrong with every single one of them. They had behavioral issues, they got sick, so many issues. And so, by just pure accident, I started breeding Bengal cats 7 years ago. Wasn't my plan, didn't know that was gonna happen. Had a female who was 10 months and a male who was like a year and 2 months, and just was in college, couldn't afford to, fix them because things that happen and blah, blah, blah. So she gets pregnant, kittens pop out, and I was like, oh, I love kittens. And since I'm gay and can't have children easily, kittens are my children. So I've had like 70 children. Wow, what does that make me, like some sort of like warrior traveling through time, making babies everywhere I go? My wife's at home, don't worry, she's taking care of my kids. So I started breeding Bengal cats. I didn't know there was like an entire market of people that like hated breeders and that think that we're evil and that think that we're just complete and total trash and that we all are just money-making, kitten mass producing. Again, I've produced like 65 kittens in 7 years. So we're not mass producing by any means. And all we're here to do is like make a buck, right? So through my first 2 years of cat breeding, it was casual. I wasn't on Facebook groups. It was just people I knew, friends, family that wanted the same kind of breed that I had. And then when I got in the Facebook world, on the groups, it was a whole new perspective. People were talking about genetic testing and how to know what kind of coats they have and what happens with patterns. If you go from like a clouded Bengal and breed it with a spotted Bengal, how it produces rosettes. Like I started learning more and more and more stuff. And it was around year 3 or 4, about a year or two after I started breeding with the cat community, the Bengal community, that I started getting some backlash. That some of my posts or people would message me and say nasty things that I just told you, that breeders are all trash, we're here just to make money, we're abusing these animals. And of course, most of the time, I didn't say anything. I would recommend that most of the time people hate on you, don't say anything. But a few times I would find myself explaining or trying to educate that person, maybe because their message wasn't too horrible. It's a vibe check, right? Then I follow someone called the Cat Breeder Sensei. I actually posted a story whatever time ago, because I have at least a week and a half left of videos before this video comes out. And she was talking about the adopt, don't shop movement. And she was talking about the statistics given to her by the ASPCA. And again, I just listened, so I'm just gonna ramble a paraphrase version of the stats, but it was like, out of all the cats that end up in shelters, 40% of them are put to death. 50% of them go out and get rehomed, 10% go back to their owners that brought them in the first place, the remaining 40 are euthanized. Horrible statistic, right? You want to cry, you want to say, please don't buy an animal, go adopt. There's 40% of the cats being killed right now. She goes further into saying that out of the ones that are euthanized, 3% of them are pedigreed or purebred cats. 3%. The other 97% are a combination of things. Random people that had 2 cats that bred. My first story, mine just happened to be purebreds. People that had gotten rid of them because they couldn't afford the vet bills, because they were having behavioral issues, because they were having some sort of issue with a child, an allergy. Okay, so they put these cats in shelters and they end up dying. And she was talking about how, so really it's not so much even like the shelter or like the people not buying them, it's actually the people giving them away. And then when she was talking about the 3% statistic of how only 3% of them are pedigreed cats, it's because when you buy a pedigreed cat, things like outrageous vet bills, you're not very likely to gonna have those because we've been breeding to get major genetic deficiencies out of the line. Issues with allergies, you can buy animals that are hypoallergenic. Bengals are considered a hypoallergenic cat. Even though technically, remember, hypo means less allergies. They're not like fully what's the word? There's a word. So when they're completely allergy-less, like skinless cats. And even then, people are allergic to like their oil in their skin. Who would have thought? But it's like when you buy and you invest in a cat, you're investing not only in the purchase you make, which is the kitten, but you're also investing in the breed as a whole, saying that I really support this breed. This breed is something that we should keep into a domesticated society. You're supporting the breeder and all the things they've done, not just for that litter, but for every litter before. So like with me, I'm on my 4th and 5th generation within my lines. I have 4 and 5 generations with 2 separate lines that are currently in my house. Do you know how much work has gone into those 4 and 5 generations? Picking them based on personality, picking them based on coat quality, on patterning, on coloring. It's like our current litter, the Star Wars litter. Like, I took a gamble. I was gambling on facial quality of one of the parents, the darkness of the other parent, because she is one of the darkest silver smokes I've ever seen. Like, it's hard to see that she's even a Bengal. And he's also very light and happened to have the melanistic carrier gene, which makes him look almost albino. He's like a Siamese with an albino Bengal body. And you can see his spots, but I took a bet on pure light and pure darkness and bred them together. And the kittens above and beyond my expectations. And so it's like you're making an investment, and with the people that are making that investment, like you're paying your $1,500 to sometimes upwards of $5,000 for a Bengal. You're investing that money for a Bengal, and that shows your commitment, your dedication. It also kind of puts people in a different class, like people that can afford higher quality food and natural litter and yearly vet appointments, and they can afford the random medical bill that'll probably come up at some point in their life you have to pay for. Trust me, in 7 years of breeding, I promise there are bills you don't know about. Like, we had a little minor problem with one of my cats a few weeks ago, $478. And I'm not sure he's even healed from it. So $500 gone, and he ain't even fully healed. And so, like, it's just a different reality, and it's a different world, and it's not whether one of them is right or wrong. You know, it's kind of like if you really love cotton and you like cotton shirts and cotton underwear and cotton socks, that's great, but cotton is itchy on some people's skin. It's too hot on some people's skin. Some people are actually allergic to it. And so it's like, there's no one size fits all. There never will be. And what I find most interesting about the cheaper end of things, the adopt, don't shop, is those are the people out there screaming, yelling, whining, and crying that the world is not good and that we are just abusing all the... It's weird that the free end is like that. But over here in the investment end, when you actually invest into your pet because you want a deep, solid investment with an animal you're going to have for, you know, with a Bengal, it can be like 15 to 20 years. So it's like you're making an investment into 2 decades of your time, and you're telling me that spending $1,500 even to $5,000 is too much for 15 years of your time? 15 years of coat quality, 15 years of personality, affection, love, 15 years of less vet bills than the cat you're probably going to get from the shelter that has God knows what wrong with it. It just blows my mind. And so, like, and just to point that out for me here, wait, we're almost at 10 minutes. We gotta cut this out soon. If your cat lived to be 12 years old, divided by 12, that's $185.17 you're paying for peace of mind with a pet a year for a 12 and a half year cat. I say 12 or 12 and a half. Yeah, 12. Why did I say 12 and a half? It goes along. Honestly, Bengals and luxury animals, they can live a long time. Especially if you take care of them and they were raised right and bred right. So adopt, don't shop. You have a place in the world, but so do we. So leave us alone.